Cabinet in the Gambia has withdrawn the motion for extension of the state of emergency from the National Assembly. Nigerians have limited hospital visits amid the fear of contracting the coronavirus. And in Uganda, the government has decided to maintain the closure of borders in the interest of the public safety. Well, this and more coming on The World Today. Many thanks for joining us, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin Africa TV. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. Now, the National Assembly sitting on June 30th was called off after the cabinet decided to withdraw the motion from chambers in Banjul. The motion would have been the third request from cabinet to the National Assembly on the extension of the state of public emergency since March, when the virus was first recorded in the country. Details of that in this report by Lamin Dabo.
The Tuesday session to consider the motion to further extend the period of state of public emergency for 45 days failed to proceed due to the absence of the Minister of Interior. The motion, in accordance with Section 34(5) of the 1997 Constitution and Section 5(2) of the Emergency Powers Act, was expected to lengthen the stay-at-home campaign effective Wednesday, the 1st of July. The Speaker of the Assembly, Mariam Jack Denton, announced shortly after the routine formalities that the order circulated to deputies had been invalidated due to a notice from the presidency.
From the executive, that's from the office of the president this morning, that the government is no more proceeding with its motion for the extension of a state of public emergency. Therefore, in consultation with the Assembly Business Committee, the motion will not be tabled as earlier placed on the order paper for today. And therefore, in accordance with Standing Order 13, Subclause 1, I hereby adjourn the sitting until tomorrow, Wednesday, the 1st of July, 2020, for the usual questions for oral answers time with several state ministers. The Assembly now stands adjourned till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 1st of July, 2020.
Given the current situation, the ongoing 21-day state of public emergency will officially end in few hours, making the country free of any emergency restriction for the first time since the outbreak of the coronavirus in her shores sometimes in March. Following the expiration of the first state of public emergency, which lasted for 7 days, the National Assembly approved its extension for 45 days in April, with all the emergency regulations activated as proclaimed by the President. The Assembly, however, failed to approve further extension request from Cabinet in May, prompting the President to rely on his powers to declare a 21-day state of public emergency for 2 consecutive times. Some 2 weeks ago, the Gambia government relaxed certain emergency regulations to allow the reopening of markets and places of worship. The education sector has since then relied on the opportunity to reopen schools, beginning with the examination classes of the junior secondary school level as a pilot project for the reopening of the rest of the academic institutions in the country. The Gambia has now registered 47 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, of which 19 are currently under treatment. 2 reported deaths had been recorded since March 2020. Despite the increase in the number of coronavirus cases in the Gambia, the motion from the Minister of Interior was likely to be rejected on what members call the lack of seriousness in the implementation of the measures brought by the emergency declaration.
And that report was filed in there by Lamin Dabo. Well, from that report, next we head to Nigeria, because since the outbreak of the coronavirus in the country, the number of patients visiting hospital has significantly reduced. Many have chosen to stay at home to avoid contracting the virus as the number of confirmed cases increases in the country. Here's more details of that in this report.
Fidelia has been self-treating for malaria. She suspected she has the common ailment and went to a pharmacist to get an anti-malaria medicine, which she's been taking since the onset of her symptoms. Pre-COVID-19, she says she would have gone to hospital to see a doctor and have a test done before commencing treatment. But she says she's scared to do that now.
I've also read about people going to the hospital probably with a headache and coming back with COVID-19. And we have cases of health practitioners getting infected as well. So I just felt the hospital wasn't so much of a safe ground.
It's a similar story for many Nigerians who are staying away from hospitals for fear of either contracting the virus or being told they have it. Before the outbreak of COVID-19, the waiting room of this private hospital in Lagos was usually packed with patients waiting to see the doctor. But since the pandemic hits the city, many have been staying away.
There's a lot of misinformation and disinformation going around there all over the nation, and this makes a lot of people not to want to actually enter hospital, because in their own perspective, hospital is the reservoir for COVID-19 diseases.
Like Dr. Mebawadu's hospital, most private medical facilities are now struggling for more patients.
Pre-COVID, of course, as a quiet, simple place that focus on some area of medical care, between 15 and 20 cases are seen, on a day. If you look at the statistics, maybe, on a day that you're not having those, maybe about 10 will come, and then you'll be able to attend to them. But during the COVID, it went down to BRS minimum, maybe 2, 3. But now you barely see 5.
The story is no different for state-run hospitals, which people patronize the most. Even though patients still continue to come for medical care, the number has gone down drastically.
Of course, people are in the public, they're telling each other, don't go near a hospital now, because you can never tell. Patients can have COVID-19 on this. But people that are sick are still coming, and we are still attending to them.
Some patients are choosing to stay away from medical facilities because they say even those with common symptoms like a fever are approached with suspicion at the hospital.
Sometimes you don't even wish you're sick. You don't even wish that people around you should be sick, because the nurse and doctors, they'll be looking at you with a different eye whenever you appear, and the way and manner the responses are so disheartening sometimes.
But doctors say with COVID-19 testing centralized and limited to mainly isolation centers, majority of hospitals in the country, both private and state-run, are not able to diagnose for the virus. And for that reason, health workers maintain a high index of suspicion when dealing with patients.
Even if somebody is having cough and fever and malaria, instead of you to treat normally and wonder, that I'll do COVID-19 test later, you can't do that. Because once you say you are treating, and then it later ended up to be COVID-19. The government will come and say, look, listen, where are your contacts? Where are the people you've met before? Then they have been to this hospital, and then the hospital will be stigmatized and probably be closed down. So it's a complex thing.
It's indeed a complex situation, and it's the reason why many like Fidelia are not willing to take the chances, but rather treat themselves at home instead of going to the hospital.
And from the report there in Nigeria, we come back home because the outgoing British High Commissioner to the Gambia, Sharon Waddell, was at the State House to bid farewell after the end of her diplomatic tour of duty in the country. Her mission to the Gambia started in 2017 when the country had just experienced the birth of a new democracy following the fall of the Jammeh rule. As she leaves for London this week, Sharon described her departure as a sad moment for her after feeling home in the Gambia over the years.
Barrow, I think we have seen and been through a lot over the past 3 years. Of course, many challenges remain, but I am optimistic about the future, and when I reflect on all the things that have been achieved in the past few years, including those on which we have engaged bilaterally. So areas like working with the National Assembly, the Ministry of Justice, the Judiciary, Environment, and many other areas of bilateral support. I genuinely feel that the foundations are being laid for a more prosperous, more secure future for the Gambia. The journey's not yet done, the transition journey's not yet done, and whilst we recognise that at the moment we're all grappling with the immediate challenges of COVID-19, I think the next 12 to 18 months are also going to be crucial for the Gambia, and we will continue to be unflinching in our support for that transition journey.
The outgoing British High Commissioner to the Gambia speaking there. Well, next we head to Senegal, because even though the cases of the COVID-19 increases in Senegal, President Macky Sall has lifted the state of public emergency weeks after the government eased other restrictions. Airspace is expected to reopen by the mid of July, but land and sea borders remain shut until further notice. Here is more details of that in this report.
Senegal, with a cumulative number of 6,696 cases of the coronavirus, has recorded 108 deaths, leaving 2,248 cases currently under treatment. However, after 3 months of state of public emergency, President Macky Sall, in address to the nation on Monday, decided to lift the state of emergency and related curfew as Tuesday. The move, he said, was informed by the fact that the country could not leave the virus their lives and their health. Neither could they leave it the life and the health of their economy. By the new proclamation, office schedule which had been set up for the government from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. since the relief of the state of emergency in May, is been restored to its normal sequence from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, the closure of public markets 1 day a week for the cleaning remains in effect, but places hosting closed-door recreational activities will remain closed due to the high risk of spreading of the virus, according to the presidency. Meanwhile, the Senegalese government has further decided to reopen air borders by the mid of July for international flights to resume, according to a defined health protocol, but land and sea borders, in the other hand, remain closed until further notice. Mr. Sall urged his fellow citizens to anticipate and organize themselves post-COVID-19 era as the government prepares to submit a national economic recovery program based on their product basis, including agriculture. The idea goes with a budgetary campaign to mobilize 60 billion CFA against 40 billion for the previous one. The World Bank has provided funding of $150 million to support the agricultural resilience and productivity program in Senegal. The post-COVID-19 National Economic Recovery Program is expected to support creative initiatives developed as part of the fight against the pandemic and the promotion of the industry. This is Aminata Job, reporting for iAfrica.
On that report there by Aminata Job, of course, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the stories. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
TRRC gannaaw bi ñu amee ndimbal ju bàyyeekoo ci mbootaayu àdduna ju faree wàllum transitional justice ak axu doomi aadama ñu xamee ko ci UNTJHR ñoo taxawal ndimbal ngir gën a yaatal ñun toroxal seen bokk-bokk ci wàllum sàkku dëgg ak liggéey TRRC bi ci wàllum gestu ak joxe kàddu ci sutura wala ci mbooloo ji ndimbal nag dinañ ko joxe ngir yombal dem ak ñëw lekk ak naan wérdu yaram ak kaaraange ndimbal ji it dinañ ko jëfandikoo ngir jënd bagage yi wérdu yaram teg ci dimbale doomi Gambia yéen toroxal ngir ñu mën a fajoo bitim réew su dee seen soxla faju dafa jàmp ñu mën a jot ci biir ndimbal nag mooy ñun musa toroxal ci seen ak ñu leen dee gunge suñuy joxe kàddu seede yi ñun tuumaal ci toroxal doomi aadama ak ñu jàppale TRRC bi ci wàllum jot dëgg képp ku bëgg a sàkku ji ndimbal koolal TRRC Victim Support Unit ci 77 04 988 wala ci 508 66 93 jërë ngeen jëf.
Welcome back. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV, and now to the rest of the stories. Now, the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation signed a $200 million financing agreement with the African Export and Import Bank in the exportation of Africa's soft commodities. This of the agreement, which is indicative of ongoing commitment to Africa, will finance the export of soft commodities such as raw cashew nuts, cocoa, samisei and maize from 11 sub-Saharan Africa. Chief Executive Officer of the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation said in a press release on Tuesday that financing of agricultural exports will provide a lifeline to exporters affected by the impact of COVID-19. Hundreds of millions of people in Africa rely on agriculture for employment, and many countries' food security rests on the smooth and affordable import and export of foodstuffs. The Islamic Finance Corporation disbursed $2.38 billion for Africa in 2019 alone, taking the total since 2008 to $15.6 billion. And from that, next we report on, of course, matters in Zimbabwe, because as part of measures to decongest workplaces amid the spread of the COVID-19 global pandemic, many Zimbabweans are now working from home or from the comfort of their homes, even though there are workers who would prefer the teamwork of doing things. The alternative is meant to build up resistance to the virus. Here's more details of that.
My station, your station, is ZFM Stereo. Good morning.
Since April, Patience Musa has been presenting her daily radio program from the comfort of her living room. WhatsApp and other social media make this improvised arrangement work.
I have my laptop, I have to use my phone, of course the connection through to the studio, the phone a lot because I have to communicate with the guy in the studio as well as everybody else who's also participating on the show. It has its moments, but it's comfortable being at home. You can't run away from that.
It's working for now, but may not be viable in the long term, according to experts who've observed that over time, productivity begins to suffer and businesses have to bear the extra cost of getting their employees' homes work-ready.
The home environment was never meant to be a work environment. You also miss the collaboration because you don't have the connectivity that you require. You miss the collaboration. If you're in the office environment, same location, if I got a problem, I just walk into your office and ask a problem. Then we solve the problem very quickly. If I WhatsApp you now, it can take an hour before you respond because I don't know what you're doing.
Some employees could be taking advantage of the situation to do things completely unrelated to their jobs, or may simply be juggling many responsibilities at home. Kudzaim Baiwa, who has to help her son with schoolwork and run her consulting business, says separating duties is key.
9 and 1 o'clock when he's doing school, I can do very mundane tasks, be present to assist. So from my work perspective, I can do mundane things on my phone, perhaps check up a few emails, make some calls, things that don't really require thinking. And then we all break for lunch from 2 o'clock thereabouts. I'm much, much more productive.
But she says being on the ground beats being behind a desk any day and hopes she can return to the traditional work arrangement soon.
And from that report there in Zimbabwe, finally to Uganda. Now, as countries began to ease COVID-19 restrictions, Ugandan authorities want their borders to remain closed to keep the people safe. For the meantime, only refugees would be allowed to return back to the country as borders with Congo remain unstable. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Uganda says it's heightening security at the border fast. The government says it wants to ensure wrong people do not take advantage of the reopening of the border to enter the country. In March, more than 100 armed men crossed into the country from DRC and attacked a military base in northwestern Uganda, killing 5 Ugandan soldiers. 2 of the attackers were gunned down in an exchange of fire, while the rest were repulsed. Coronavirus testing and isolation facilities are also being prepared before the refugees arrived. All the refugees will be required to take mandatory COVID-19 tests and also be quarantined for 14 days before settling in. The situation across Uganda's border with the DRC remains volatile following ethnic clashes that have killed dozens in the country's Ituri province. Uganda closed its borders in March as a measure to slow down the spread of COVID-19.
Well, from that report there in Uganda, we finally brings this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, you can log on our website on africa.tv. Well, once again, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and of course, bye for now.
yomb na